Now, can you believe it's already episode 50? Like, I definitely can't. But today I want to fix a few of the issues you guys have been commenting about in a lot of my projects. And I also want to do a little bit of a recap. So let's get on with it. Now, getting started today back on the Just Create SMP, I have some plans to fix some of the farms that I have been working on. For example, over here in the Foundry, I have a big plan. I've got to get myself a few more things automated in there, and I've got to figure out how to fit them in. That is going to be a bit of a problem. For example, we are going to need quartz, and we're also going to need to produce gold. And I completely forgot about those two things. And the Foundry would be a great place to actually store and handle that. But before we start there is something I kind of want to do. I want to get the name in for the train. You guys commented, and I absolutely loved reading all of those comments and all of those names. But of course, I have to pick one, and my favorite out of the entire list is going to be coming from Grease Monkey MC. And it says, I think in honor of Ozzy, the train should be named Blazy Train. And that is fantastic. Yes. And it's as simple as changing one letter here, but Blazy Train, by far, the best name. And now after getting it named, I can resume the schedule and send this guy off. And I think I've gotten everything figured out. So this is definitely routing back and forth as soon as the time is up. This one should jump and continue on. And I think my other train is paused somewhere else because this one is kind of resting on the track at the moment. And just like that, it is off. Now, let's start working on that project I was talking about. So yes, we need to get back into the Foundry and actually make a few more things. Now, one of the main reasons why I want to get back into this and get this up and running is because I want to be able to make Nixie tubes as soon as possible. Now, this is heavily going to rely on Stam's farm actually functioning, so we're probably going to need some chunk loading infrastructure eventually. Right now, I think I am going to buy my redstone from Beardy to kind of get us up and running, but I would really love to have like this automated in some way. Like we can actually use the grinder here to produce the rose quartz, and then that can just be crafted together, or it looks like it could just be mixed together. Actually, no, it can't be. This cannot be a mixed recipe. Very interesting. So yeah, we have to do this inside of a shaped crafter. And I mean, if you've seen by my mall, that means we also need another 3x3, which means we need more of those. But anyways, we need quartz, and then also a byproduct of making that quartz is gold. So technically we will have a gold farm as well. Now, I think at this point I have enough cobblestone generators that I don't really need to worry too much about adding another one. We can probably just utilize some of the cobblestone that we're already generating. For example, this one over here really isn't getting that much use. So what I could do is swap out these item drains, and we could put a belt here instead. And I think that would benefit this much better. And then in the middle here, we can split off another belt and have that run down any of these assembly lines. So as far as the belt goes, something like this will work out perfect. And then we will use a brass tunnel here, and this will allow me to split the stacks or split any. I think maybe we can even do like maybe a priority system. I still don't know 100%. Maybe even round robin would probably be best. And the reason we want this to be evenly distributed is because this still over here needs cobblestone. We still have to have cobblestone flowing into this system to make sure it stays up and running. Now, I was thinking this area right here might be enough space if I can sneak this in between here and just make sure that I can get the final product out onto this belt line. We should be good to go. And if I get this belt running and I have this going, I can have two crushing wheels over here that are essentially doing the same thing this is doing, turning it into gravel and then crushing it into sand, clay, and flint. Now that does mean more crushing wheels, but I mean, I think we'll be fine. I mean, Beardy Power Code did just upgrade, so I mean that shouldn't cause any problems, right? Oh, this might cause a problem. Never mind, this is actually going to work out just fine because that got the power spinning in the correct direction anyways. Well, that worked out. But yeah, I'm thinking two crushing wheels right about here, and we have plenty of those laying about. So yes, it will turn the cobble into gravel, then immediately turn it into sand, clay, and flint. And then we need to filter out specifically sand, clay, and flint and send that up onto this belt right here. which is the sand, clay, and flint area. Now for this, unlike my other setups where these were already planned and I've kind of had like this enough space sort of mapped out, this one I've kind of got to fit in here. So I got to be a bit more creative in how I want to do this. And this is a dual fan setup. So we are going to need to take sand, which is going to come from here, and haunt that sand. So we're going to use the same sort of setups that I've been using where we go over the top, drop it down to the bottom, and then it ends up on a belt. But what I got to do is I got to then send it back over here to then have that soul sand washed. That way it produces the quartz and the gold nuggets. Then those gold nuggets, well, they need to be processed, and we want to make sure to only send the gold ingots out. We don't really want to send the gold nuggets. We need ingots. And we also want the quartz to continue on too. Now we also want the flint and such to end up over here. So we can set up a funnel, and hopefully this will allow this to go into the belt, because I know this can get kind of backed up. I'm gonna change, I think, some of these. I was told that I could potentially get away with using less crushing wheels. And if I use less crushing wheels, it may stack better. We're going to have to kind of play around and see there. But I've got to use, instead of these chutes, we'll use the smart chutes instead. But I mean, I still got to set up the filter. So inside of this filter, the only thing we want leaving this is going to be clay, which we're going to be generating. And we also want flint. Perfect. Okay. So we've got our list filter built. Place that in here. And then the only other thing we want is sand, which I do have a little bit down here that has already generated, and then the sand will pop out this side, and that should evenly divide everything. Like, we're not going to be splitting whenever we use filters. Instead, it's going to literally act like a filter. Now, like I said, the goal is to have the items dropped onto here just like the other side, and one side is going to be washing while the other side needs to be haunting, and we can utilize the blaze burner here. I believe it's lighted, and then use the soul sand on it, and then perfect. We have a haunter. I just got to get some trapdoors down here. I mean, technically, I don't think we have to have trapdoors, but it does look nice. Now, for this section right here, I was thinking, I mean, this could be kind of interesting. What if we just did a barrel and we had a filtered funnel here that was taking in those items, and as those items pass through here, we set the filter to accept specifically the, I believe this is just going to be soul sand, right? So we set it to accept only the soul sand after the sand has been dropped here. And then that immediately just gets deposited right out here, like into the washing area. And then we could set up our belt right here to start, instead of like over here like the other ones, and then have the filtering process happen afterwards. You know what? To make it even more compact, I'm just going to remove the trapdoors, and the barrel is going to go right here, and we're going to do that same thing. There's just going to be blocks blocking the area. Or even better, we could just use the trapdoors to block it. I mean, yeah, something like this, getting flipped around, trapdoor here, turned like this. That'll make sure to keep those items there. And I believe if we do drop the items directly onto here, it does just fall right down, I think. I mean, let's go ahead and give it a try. I'm going to throw some sand down here that falls straight down, and then, yeah, is going to be haunted. And I lifted this up so that way we don't end up with that item buffer limit. And then, yeah, that's going to pull that in, and it sends it out to be washed. Oh, this is perfect. And so right here, carrying on our power from the other side, the belt will start here, and we'll do a very similar setup here where we're going to be splitting our two products, and we just need to get this all pressed up and then sent out onto the belt. After collecting some tunnels, we'll go here. That's perfect. And since we have a bit more space, I think right here, I will do the gold here, and then flint will be on the other side. And then a very, very simple setup here just to compress everything, and all of that power should get carried over just like so, utilizing encased chain drives. And then, does this need a filter? I mean, I do recommend filtering the thing that is going in, but yeah, to get the items in, we don't really need much of anything other than just a funnel. So it's just going to go right in. The product gets spit right out and should carry that power on. Let's see. We are going to need one other thing, right? We got to get that in. Beautiful. And that gets the belts a running. And then we also need a way to collect the product, which is going to go over here. And this one is also going to need a filter. We can just do a list filter for this. Just like everything else, it's just, yeah, like gold nuggets and quartz. Perfect. Now, like I said, my only concern is this potentially getting backed up, but we'll see if we can work that out here soon. All I've got to do is flip the lever to turn all of this on, and fingers crossed that it actually works. Oh, and I also need to output from the face here out into this belt. So yeah, this is also going to need to be here. And so without further ado, let's void ourselves some gold and also void ourselves some quartz, because this is not hooked up just yet to any storage medium. So yeah, let's take a look here. I mean, is it working? Do we have any yet? I mean, we don't have any yet over here. I think it's because it's set to split. Let's set this to round robin. All right. So that is now sending out. That is now crushing. Slowly crushing compared to everything else. But there we go. That has dropped down. And we should start seeing some gold fairly soon. As soon as that washing process is done. The haunting process has worked. It's a slow process, you know, it's kind of slow. But looky there, we've got our haunted products that's working its way and being currently washed, which is exactly what we want. And we should start seeing products fairly soon. And voila, our first 2 golden nuggets. Yeah. But you know what, to be fair, the gold isn't really the main thing we need. We don't use a whole lot of gold outside of just making like golden apples and carrots and stuff. I mean, the main thing we really need is quartz, specifically for those electron tubes. So let's go ahead and get the other vault set up. This is going to be just like our other ones. However, I am going to probably stack one of these vaults on top of the other vaults here. Now with the vaults in and I have my placards up, we can go ahead and get the receiving set up. So yeah, we need to receive these items. Now one item is a bit taller than the other, and I'm probably going to use this like scissor design to kind of get it all the way up here. I think this will be fine. We'll pull off the side and just continue sending it up. But let's see, the quartz, I mean, that one's pretty easy. We just simply add that onto the list. Yeah, now this should be pretty straightforward to understand. That's going to pull off the belt. That's also going to be filtered, so we should only be pulling those gold nuggets. And then we just got to make sure that these are pulling, and then this one also going to pull off of here. And then this pulls, and then this ultimately receives and send into the item vault. And I mean, this is pretty straightforward. So the bottom one is going to be the flint, the top one is going to be the gold, and everything should work its way there. Gold is going to be, yeah, a pretty slow process. Thankfully, I don't really need a whole lot. Plus, I'm also automating gold at the mall, and I'm also automating gold over on our other factory. Not only am I automating gold over on our dye factory, we're also automating quartz as well. Yeah, we have a lot of the same farms everywhere. Now, also, we can't forget our frog ports because we do want to be able to request this at some point. So we are going to need packagers. And this should be, I mean, very, very simple. We're going to have a packager in the same setup. We do need to link the frog. Let's see, I think these are linked to the front of the cable, like into this section here. So I'm going to put that one there. That one should be fine. And this one will go there. And then to get it all on the same network, I'm going to need some more stock links. Looks like I'm out. But we just simply right-click the stock link on the existing stock links to link it to the same network. Oh yeah, and then don't forget to, I got to flip these around. There we go. Now, I know a lot of you guys were concerned about this simply because of the sheer comments of me literally burning this clay. All right, I'll fix the clay, okay? I'll utilize the clay, I guess, since you forced my hand and all of that. So instead of voiding the clay, what I'm going to do instead is I am going to route the clay like this, and then this just needs to be turned, making sure to get rid of all of that. And then I'll run a belt over here, and then this belt is going to follow all the way to this position. And then we are going to have another section that quite literally just drops it all the way down onto this depot right here. Now, actually, I think I've changed my mind here. I think instead of just sending the clay itself, I'm going to let this compact it into clay, or clay blocks, so that way I can just have it directly turned into terracotta. So by putting this filter in here, it should also compact the clay, and I've just got to use clay blocks on this filter here. Now, fingers crossed that this whole thing works. It's just going to be dropped directly down here. And to get the power sent over, if you extend your belt out one like this, it makes it a whole lot easier. to get the power transferred. So the belt that you need to transfer power to, just extend it one out, place a gearbox in that extension, and that should give power in the direction that you actually want things going. Unfortunately, though, I can't do that to this section because of the way that I set this all up. So instead, what I could do is just pull some power from over here, and that'll probably be the easiest way. Then what I got to do is I've got to get rid of this. Okay, and there you go. So notice it is doing both of those filtered items, but is the clay actually dropping, or is it just landing directly on the top? It looks like it's working. I mean, that to me looks like it's landing in the correct spot. Okay, so we've got that basically figured out. I do want to decorate it a little bit, but I do want to come back to what we were working on before. And we have a bit of a problem with this particular setup. Ah, I see. Now, you might think that it's going to be kind of hard to solve this problem, but you'd be surprised how easy it is to fix this issue here. Now, what I will say is it's very noisy, but it is going to be quite an easy fix. So all we're going to need to be able to do this is some item vaults. So let's see, where did I keep my item vaults? That's right, it should be in the storage container, this one right here. It's going to get kind of messy. I'm going to break this, and then we are just going to build a 3x3 item vault to get the height up here. And instead of where we're currently sending our items out, we will then just drop them from here. And that'll make sure that there is no stack restriction, because with this setup, unfortunately, like, we don't want the stack restriction. We want it to dump as many as possible so all of those can be processed all in one go. Now, this is really going to get this thing trucking along here. Yeah, there's a lot to fix. And so there we go. That is now working. We also have extra clay that's entered the mix, and we're no longer wasting the clay. So now let's take a look at whether or not in my testing, if using less crushing wheels and swapping them over to smart chutes is actually going to be something we can do. I mean, it looks like we might be able to handle this. The cobblestone values are going down. They were going up briefly, but it looks like, yeah, we might be able to get away with just using 3. That's significantly less, and that'll save us so much more. But yeah, now don't get me wrong, this is still very expensive. Like it is like significantly expensive. But I mean, thankfully I have a lot of brass, and I have a lot of the tubes kind of pre-made. So yeah, we should be able to make more. But you know, yeah, I want to try and do my part. You know, I want to try and reduce as much stress as possible. So if I can switch all of these down to just simply using 3 crushing wheels per, I'm going to do that. So yeah, essentially everywhere we had chutes, I'm going to just be replacing that with 3, and I'm going to split them up like this to make it look not so weird and try to evenly divide them. So something like this is going to be the finished product, and yeah, it looks kind of nice, actually. With all of this in mind, I think I was able to clean this up quite a bit more. We now only have 3 per area, and I think that is going to work out a lot better. And I still have this because I was splitting the stacks into 16, but I mean, we might be able to get by with just using 1 crushing wheel, making sure we send a stack at a time to this. And I'm pretty sure this works right here. I think this will end up sending into the smart chute. We'll have to check. I just got to turn this on and make sure everything works. I'm really hoping it all keeps up. I mean, this is a pretty big change to the whole system here. And yes, it does seem like the smart chute is working. It only has 16 at a time in it though at the moment. I did have to put a filter on here just to make sure it doesn't pull cobblestone from the top. But yeah, this is only sending 16 at a time. I wonder if I set this to 64, if that would be better. It might possibly be better. I just don't want to run this dry. So now after that, I think a lot of issues that you guys have been mentioning, I think have been fixed. At least I feel like they've been fixed. And we can now access our gold and our nether quartz inside of the same system with our stock keeper. And the future of this should allow us to also route packages around, so the way we can hook them up to things like trains, for example. And now I tell you what, this has been a huge mega project, and we've made it all the way to episode 50 in this series. What a crazy series this has been. And I tell you what, I couldn't have done it without all of the support from you guys in the comments and just in the videos in general. Just you watching them, I mean, honestly, is enough to get me excited for the next episode. And even though this all has been built around essentially one mod being the create mod, there has been so much stuff we've been able to do. Now, you know what? With it being episode 50 as well, I mean, we might as well, after getting this done, celebrate. And we should go do a little bit of exploring and just sort of take a step back, take a little bit of a breather, and just simply reflect on all of the stuff that we've built thus far. Because I think this has been one of the longest playthroughs I have ever done and the most time I have ever spent on a series, with 21 days, almost 22 days worth of gameplay in this pack. I mean, that is almost more time than I have in the entirety of like the Destiny 2 game, which takes a lot of time, by the way, and I have been playing that for years, nearing 528 hours in this world. Now, some of that was definitely AFK time, specifically on the mob farm and a little bit on this farm. I don't even think I spent a whole lot of time AFKing in the dirt farm, and I didn't even AFK over here in the chocolate factory. That just happened because we ended up getting chunk loading. But I've not really chunk loaded a whole lot after doing this, and I have removed a lot of the chunk loaders because stuff just sort of builds up almost too quickly. I mean, we do need the chunk loaders for trains to work, which is kind of the only downside. And even if I was to use the package system, it still causes the need for chunk loaders. It's just because your systems just don't really work. Now, anyways, enough of me talking about how much time I've spent on this. Let's walk, because I've added pathways all the way back. And let's just take a step back and look at where we started at. And I mean, it all started right here. I mean, this is the spawn. This is where we were all seated when we started the journey into this pack. And man, this is a pretty nostalgic spot, because I remember jumping off of here and searching for my first tree to break, telling everybody, please don't kill the piggos, because they're my friends. And they proceeded to kill all the piggos. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't stop them. I tried, but down here, just taking a quick step down here, I mean, this was all just a plainsy area. And yeah, it has turned into this mega sort of build with all of us putting things together for our shopping and also for our trains. It's just become this massive, massive area with just countless hours of building like that have gone into this place alone. And then shortly after we made it over here to this village, a lot of us decided to start building around this massive, massive lake. And I wanted this little spot up here. And this has been my humble abode, my little cozy workshop. And I have used this a lot. I have come back here. Even now, I still come back here. I make some casings every now and then, all inside of my workshop. I have outfitted this whole thing. There's also still the waterfall that I set up. And the waterfall even has the smoke particles down at the bottom. Like, I tried my best to make this look like it was alive. And then how could I forget? Our mining tunnel, or even the tree farm, my first cobbleworks factory. I mean, that produced sand, gravel, iron, all of this, flint, and also ended up being my trading hall. It just feels good reminiscing on all this. Like, pork chopping prices here, I'm pretty sure sustained just about everybody on the server for the longest period of time. And I haven't even checked how profitable this has been. 111 diamonds stacked in here. You've been busy. That means there's probably been over 111 stacks of meat sold. That's crazy to think. I also think I've pulled the coins out of that, or the diamonds out. And then how could I forget about my cozy little track depot? I built this and it is now fully automated. I do have packagers that send over the nuggets and everything gets produced here and keeps that in stock. And I have some buildup over here. I mean, all of this set up with a portable fluid tank that I'm able to pick up and take to the nether anytime I need, allowing me to make sturdy sheets on demand. See, I tried to build projects that I knew were going to be really beneficial to me and help me make all of the infrastructure that we've started on recently. And speaking of things that I knew we were going to need, how about auto crafting? And because we didn't really have anything but create in here, I wanted a way to not need to manually craft things anymore. And thus I built the mall. And I think by far the mall has been the most used factory, most used shop overall. Like, this was a mega project meant to technically automate almost all of the andesite age by just simply using a single cobblestone generator, a wood farm, and a kelp farm. With it being fully self-sustainable, I was able to sell all of the stuff to all of my server mates. And this has led to this being very, very profitable. For example, I found out that the stock ticker actually has an item limit. Yeah, if you didn't know, we found out. It can only hold an entire stack, an entire shulker box, basically, or a barrel worth of diamonds before it goes, nope, sorry, the stock ticker is full. So yeah, that was found out, and this is most of the diamonds that I have gained from this entire shop. This hasn't just helped the server mates, this has helped me by providing us with all of these valuable resources. And the fact that it just keeps itself in stock so long as somebody's over here or the spawn is sort of loaded. I mean, this was loaded for the longest time, and then ever since it's been unloaded, we've started seeing some more complaints about there not being enough stock of things. I mean, but I didn't really want to re-chunk load it. I didn't want to be the one who's potentially causing lag on the server. I have to say, there's not a lot really going on here. Everything is module based, and that is what's really made this factory quite efficient. I've even gone as far as setting up parallel crafters and then using cobblestone to buffer the crafters, so that way when this is filled up, the only other spot to go is another frog port. And this is a very interesting way of setting this up, and I was trying for the longest of time to figure out how could I limit this getting filled up with packages. Yeah, don't forget, you can definitely do this, and if it wasn't for my other Minecraft modded playthroughs, I probably would have never even thought to have done it this way. Just all those years of playing modded Minecraft and finding weird ways to get away, get around, yeah, like weird things that problems to solve. Now, a little bit more story time. After building the mall, things got a lot more interesting because I now had all of the resources available to me to pretty much build whatever I want. If I wanted brick, I had it automated. If I needed iron, I now had it automated, and we were able to start expanding, and I had all of the tools, well, minus some brass, which I still had to use my house for. We were able to use all of that to expand. And so it was time for me to leave the spawn area and start working on bigger and better projects. And thus, the dirt factory was started. Yeah, it seems kind of odd when you think about it. Why would I want to make a dirt factory? Well, it's actually been very useful, believe it or not. See, if you haven't been able to tell already, we're using a lot of dirt and mud all over the place. And it was yet again another thing that I didn't want to sit there and just craft over and over and over again. So I was like, maybe there's a way that I could actually automate this. And I was like, you know what? This could be a pretty profitable business if I could get it all set up and get it running. And it was. I mean, this has definitely served its purpose. Behind this glass is my rotary dirt producer that places down and sends all of the coarse dirt to then be plowed and then be drilled up and then sent back over here, which takes this and splits it and then routes it around. Another cool thing that I figured out is though a way that I could technically utilize the vanilla crafter. And this made this dirt farm so much easier. It just simply receives, and then anytime the observer detects items going into a funnel, well, it then sends a redstone pulse, and that allows the crafter to work, which is sending it into this chest. And I mean, that was a lot of fun coming up with a solution for this. Now, this wasn't the only thing I was working on at the time. No, because this is actually when I was also doing the train tracks. And I wanted to kind of base my rail system off of the way it looks where I live. And it's a lot of like this gravel, which I know has its own name. But yeah, it was kind of like a raised track everywhere I lived that was just gravel sloped on the sides and then ditches running down the side. And I wanted to continue that. I know these aren't realistic curves, but I mean, this is Minecraft after all. but I did want to make it look as pretty as possible. And I've done a lot of detailing to all of the tracks. And I've also decided to run my conveyors, which is carrying all of my power from Beardy Power Co, mind you, and is routing that all to my projects. And speaking of projects, this was another huge one. I decided to also build a tunnel because I thought I was going to have the trains collecting things in the dirt, but turns out I didn't. And so I ended up with 2 train tracks that leave spawn, one going through a tunnel and one that doesn't. And the funny thing is neither of these I am actually utilizing for depositing items. Yeah. Also inside of here was where I started setting up lava, and I actually have no idea why this shut off, but maybe it's something to do with the pumps. Yeah, there was an issue with the pumps. Oh no. But it looks like I just fixed it. But anyways, this was my infinite lava from the start, which is actually pulling it out of the nether and sending it out. And then right over here, I set up, well, the thing that a lot of people have been protesting about. I have a farm, but that's not the thing they're protesting about. It's actually the cow farm. How are you doing, Phil? Good. That's good to hear. I mean, yeah, I don't know why the protesters keep showing up. I mean, this is super ethical and it is all fine. They are safe. They have food. I mean, I don't know why they haven't eaten it in a while, but it's there. They can eat it any time. And there goes one of the trains. Yeah, I'm not actually utilizing this train to pick up items. Instead, we have a truck that is picking up items from the back here. And I was originally sending all of these items and packages through another portal that was right there, but it kept crashing us. So I had to actually route it. This is one of the unfinished-ish projects. As you can see, I didn't actually decorate the inside here, but I did decorate this bridge, and you know, this was all done whenever I had a portal here anyways. Now this whole area isn't really meant for pedestrian traffic. Like, I don't have a big walkway that runs through the tunnel. However, I did want to make sure that people could walk along the train tracks. And if they didn't want to walk, I also set up one of these bad boys. So yes, we can also travel by chain, but I do have a path that runs all along the train track. So there is 100% walking space that leads all over here. And that leads me to my next project. And no, it's not this. We're going to get to that in a second. It was actually this building, which is the Partway Station. This is the train station that does all of the item handling and logistics, and is going to continue to do all of that in the future. I have a lot more plans for this area, and I want to take certain products and use this as a hub for receiving them. At the moment, the only thing that it is receiving is all of our crop-based items. So we have wheat, we have sugarcane, all of that gets over here, including bone meal. And the bone meal at the moment, I think, is the only thing that is being utilized by our dye farm, constantly sending, I believe, that and also cocoa. But we're also receiving milk and we're receiving lava over here as well, which does get transported via a train. Now, the goal is to also have a receiving end. So this is picking up the items and sending it off, but we also want to pull or accept items and have them stored over here. I still have to get all that set up. It is quite the process, honestly, getting this working. And speaking of getting things working, let's actually talk about the chocolate factory. Also, everyone is now saying that my chocolate is not ethically sourced, even though I will fight that to the grave. I will. But I don't actually have a walking path up to this, but we do have this right here, which I thought was hilarious. That is a tunnel bridge. It is. It's a bridge that's also a tunnel. You can call it what you will, but this is a tunnel bridge. And that tunnel bridge takes you all the way up here, where I do have another receiving station. And the train items go into here, end up in another sorting area where it is set up and held. And all of those items are then requested via the Frogport system. And that is then pulled over into here. We have all kinds of cool stuff being made, like sweet rolls. And we also have scoria and scorchia being made. We have Oompa and Loompa over here. I even have a Willy Wonka fan Oh man, that randomly shuts off and brings you super close to death every now and then. We're producing chocolate bars, chocolate. The entire tank is completely filled. Oh man, chocolate covered sweet berries, all kinds of goods. And it is all done inside of this chocolate factory. So much fun. This was a very, very fun build and project. But now this nearly catches us up to present day, because at this point, we've only done a couple of other things. For example, I now have Hyper Enchanting, which is an add-on mod, one of the only add-on mods really that we have for Create. And to get this all set up and to do the Create Enchantment Industries, which I do have a shop for, well, I needed a blaze farm. So I designed this blaze farm, and my goodness, does it produce a lot of XP. Just by simply standing here, all of the blazes start to spawn. They end up inside of my poker crusher, and that produces not only blaze rods, but also extra XP. That XP then gets compressed, and we end up with it all over here. Now, there's not a lot in this vault at the moment, as most of it is actually at spawn. But you might be in awe here as well, because I know I am, because I love this palette. This is another train tunnel that I had to build through this mountain to avoid making the train go up over the mountain, which I don't think is as efficient. I wanted to keep everything nice and flat. My trains do utilize this. Yes, there goes another one of my trains. So we did this farm as well, but what about dyes and concrete? Well, we actually have ways that we can use liquid dyes to dye certain blocks, but the only problem with that is we weren't actually able to make concrete powder with it. So that gave me an opportunity to automate that. And over here, I have all of these dyes automated individually. And these dyes are then being used to make concrete. Yes. Yeah. And we have all of this. We're going to talk about this in a second, because if you haven't been following with the series and you're just catching this episode, you might be like, well, why would you do this? Well, all of these dyes, like I said, all of this concrete powder can only be made one way. And it's this way. There is no way to change the color of them. However, you can automate concrete, and we could automate all of the concrete by just using the dye fluid, but concrete powder was just not a thing that we could have automated. Well, in the diomat, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, but over here is our other final project where we are now finally caught up with today. And you definitely seen all of this at the start. This is the Foundry, and this place is producing every metal type now. And I mean every metal type. We are producing iron, we're producing zinc, copper, gold, and even brass in this factory. So yeah, you may be wondering, Chosen, why would you even make all of this stuff? Like, what's the reason? And I'll tell you what, sometimes that's a really difficult thing to answer, but not on this server. This has been like something that has been really easy for me to answer. And it's because I want to provide easy access to resources for all of the people who are also playing on this server. And I find a lot of enjoyment in that. And so that's going to actually lead me back to Spawn, where I set up quite a few shops outside of the mall, of course. And also the pork chopping prices, which has also stayed over here. And my first shop that I set up, like I said, outside of the mall and also outside of pork chopping prices, was the dirty little shop. Yes, Chosen's dirty little shop, in fact. And I haven't checked this in a little while. I don't know what we should expect in here. 52 diamonds, that's not too bad. And how's my stock doing? Pretty good, which I am selling quite a few things. As you can see here, we got mud, regular dirt. Mostly mud, I think, is what's been primarily used, which looks really good up against this industrial iron. But yeah, if you purchased all of it here, you pay 4 diamonds, where in the back, in the dirty little discounts, if you buy it back here, you do get the same amount, but for only 1 diamond. So yeah, was kind of a funny little addition. Now there has been a running theme, if you've noticed in some of my videos, this little thing right here. Yes, I did want to include some mysterious aspects into the whole thing, and this was a fun little thing that I was able to do. For example, adding references inside of these builds. And so there is one reference, but I ended up building another shop for the chocolate factory. And that's this one right here, which I've still had no one contact me about advertising, oddly enough. But yeah, this has been my least profitable shop. You would think it wouldn't be, but nobody is really eating or using this outside of just decoration. I think Throwlash has used some of this for decoration. And I'm surprised nobody has bought any of the Scorchia or Scoria, because I mean, this is some really nice building blocks. But yeah, for food, honestly, it felt kind of underwhelming after setting up the chocolate factory, realizing that like berries aren't really that great and chocolate's not really that great to eat, and sweet rolls aren't really that great to eat because they don't really give you any bonus effects. All of that work and there's no bonus effects, but Builder's Tea gives you a bonus effect? I'm still confused by that, but I digress. We do have a clock that is up here, and the clock is functional, by the way, and it is also powered by chocolate. But then after setting all of that up, I did do that XP, and we also got the concrete. So here we have the espresso. We get your XP fast. This is my XP shop, and where most of my XP is currently at in block form, where everybody can buy 16, and that is quite a good deal. Considering you can use that to easily repair all of your tools on the fly. And then we have ourselves Jeb. This shop was where I am selling all of that concrete powder, and the enchantment shop, which is very, very profitable. The Black Market Forge. This has been a very, very profitable shop. As we can see back here, this is just, I think, Eggs alone who has used this shop and got all of his stuff nice and enchanted, and over enchanted as well, like being able to, for example, put like efficiency 5 on here and stuff like that, or 6. Yeah, it's a kind of a lot, but so far this is just about all of the shops that I have set up. Well, -1. See, I had all that excess dye and I didn't really want to set up a full-blown shop and kind of bypass the Diomat, which utilizes a really cool mechanic to technically dye bulk items, but I still wanted to sell dyes just in case people wanted to also make their own dye. And so I decided to make a little bit of a speakeasy, and inside that speakeasy is where all of the dye is being sold. Also, another reference. And yes, inside of here in the little speakeasy, we have Squeaks, who is selling all of the dyes. This was a really fun project to build as well, coming up with the idea for having a little sewer down here, all of that fun stuff. I mean, this has just been a lot of fun overall, coming up with ideas and just playing around with different things. I've had a blast. But as of right now, that about wraps up everything that I have made thus far. So yeah, if you haven't been caught up on the series, then now you technically are. And I hope you've enjoyed this series. This has been a lot of fun to do. There's still several other projects that I want to get set up. For example, I do want to get electron tubes automated. I want to have a constant production of that. I do have blaze rods that are being sent over to Stam's area to produce, believe it or not, unlimited redstone, even though Beardstone also just set up the same farm. Ours is better. No, I'm just kidding. But I will be buying some of Beardstone's redstone, so I hope he doesn't get too bummed about us also having one, because I'm going to use it to kind of test some things, and also I need somewhere to spend my diamonds. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure you understand that there's still several more projects that I have in mind that I want to get set up, and I'm pretty excited about doing. Possibly a brass mall? I even think it would be cool if I could somehow take this mall and include brass and everything into it, and then just continue expanding it so it's just considered the mall. I mean, I think that would also be doable. Do you know what? That's gonna be future plans for future Chosen, because today we are, well, all out of time. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hopefully you enjoyed the recap, me going back, reminiscing on all of the builds, because it's just been so much time. I feel like I've been living on this server recently. But you know, I couldn't do it without you guys watching. So thank all of you guys who have watched, who have clicked that subscribe button, who have liked these videos, and who has also commented down below. You guys mean the world, and I thank you guys so very much. Now, without further ado, with that being said, and if you haven't clicked the subscribe button already, you might as well do that and give this video a thumbs up. But like I was saying, it's now time for me to also thank the ones who contribute financially to these videos and thank the supporter of today's episode. And that amazing thanks is going to go out to the Private Pilot. Thank you so much for your amazing support in choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting in one of the best ways possible. But I also want to thank all of you that support me no matter what platform it's on, whether it's on Twitch, here is a YouTube member, on Patreon. You guys are honestly the best and are what keep video series like these extended longer than just like 30 episodes. Without you, I just don't think I would be able to do it. So again, thank you so very much. And I want to thank all of you who have watched. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.